The New York State Office of Victim Services, OVS, helps victims of crime throughout New York State. One way OVS helps is to administer the Federal Victims of Crime Act, VOCA, victim and witness assistance funds to not-for-profit and municipal agencies serving crime victims across the state. Before watching this video, we recommend taking our training on how to complete a Fiscal Cost Report, or FCR. Here, we'll spend a few minutes on the documentation that may be required when you submit the FCR, a quarterly report you'll need to submit for reimbursement purposes. You'll learn which documents are necessary to send in with the FCR to verify certain expenses and avoid a delay in payment. The following categories require supporting documentation be submitted with the FCR: salaries, contractual services, furniture and equipment, travel and training and operating expenses, excluding indirect costs or de minimis rate. The following categories do not require supporting documentation be submitted with the FCR: fringe, space such as rent, utilities, and maintenance. Let's dive a little deeper on what the required documentation might look like. For salaries, you'll need to submit either a certified payroll record or a payroll register or summary, which would include the employee's name, payroll period, gross pay, and number of hours worked. Payroll records are required for employees paid with OVS or match funds. If this document isn't generated by payroll software, it needs to be signed by an authorized individual in your agency or another authorized individual as deemed appropriate by your agency, like a program director or fiscal director. Volunteer hours claimed as match also need documentation, like a sign-in sheet, signed time records, or a calendar showing shifts. Required documents for contractual services expenses can include an invoice from the provider and a receipt or other proof of payment, such as a bank statement, canceled check, or a copy of the front of a check signed and dated. The check does not have to be cleared. If you have claimed expenses in furniture and equipment, you will need to submit an invoice and a receipt or other proof of payment. Required documentation for travel and training expenses can be an invoice, a receipt, or other proof of payment, and a travel log typically used for mileage if it applies to your expenses. If you have expenses in the operating expenses category, you will need to submit the invoice and receipt or other proof of payment for each expense claimed. Remember, if indirect costs or the de minimis rate is charged, you do not need to submit any backup documents. OVS can request any additional documents that may be needed to substantiate a reimbursement request. Please be sure that the entries on the FCR, such as check date, check number, and amount of check, and the supporting documents provided match each other. That concludes the training for completing the FCR. Thank you for watching. Remember, additional training on completing the FCR is available on our website. Please reach out to your contract manager with any questions. For more information about OVS, visit ovs.ny.gov.